support following on from some of our other talks. We were going to talk because we've had some people say, kind of some dads say, what about like when the baby comes home and for those couple of weeks you're on paternity leave or you know, you've got your leave, like what's your role?
Yeah.
You know, like we've had some dads, you've had dads ask you, and I've had some dads say to me, like, what exactly am I supposed to be doing? You know.
It's funny because I was talking to somebody recently, they had a kid a few months ago, and they were saying like that first month, because of like COVID and everything, people were kind of not going to visit, even though they kind of wouldn't have minded. And I was saying, well, you probably, dodged a bullet there. But they were saying, like, what was you supposed to do? And I was like, but you're just supposed to enjoy it. Like, and then what I found is those first few weeks, like my mother-in-law was able to come over for 2 weeks right after the baby was born. But then when she went, like it was kind of just the three of us, because people couldn't really visit. So like I washed a lot of dishes and I did a lot of laundry, and you kind of just keep the show on the roads. Because like my wife breastfed, and we can talk about feeding plans and all that another time too. But that's a full-time job. Like that's 40 plus hours a week. She's doing that. So there's a lot of other things need to be done around the house. And I have this third person who, for somebody so small, generates a massive amount of laundry. Like a massive amount. You really have to try your best to stay on top of it. I know it's the running joke in our house about there's a basket for the dirty laundry, and then there's a basket where the clean laundry sits until we just take it out and wear it out. A lot of clothes never make it back into a drawer or back onto a hanger. But just try and like we talked a little bit about it before the baby arrived, but then it's just getting into that thing of and we've talked about it before on Saturday mornings of like you can discuss like where the kind of the stress points are and figure out like, right, your partner doesn't like laundry. Nobody really does. But like if they've spent all day, with a baby, and that's a really exhausting thing, it's wonderfully rewarding, and don't get me wrong, but like it's exhausting, it's emotionally exhausting, it's physically exhausting. And if they come downstairs and they see a big pile of laundry that you've walked past for 5 hours, that's probably it would annoy somebody maybe at the best of times, but somebody who's getting close to the end of their tether might just it could be a bit of an issue. So finding those things, and even then, like I found that I really like cooking, and I was able to do that a bit more. It's kind of gone back the other way again since, but just finding those things where you can do. Sometimes it sounds very smallsy, but you can do a lot for somebody sometimes by doing just something very small. It doesn't always have to be big gestures or whatever. Like just something as simple as, would you like a cup of tea? You look like you need a cup of tea, and just landing with it, not even asking, and
Totally.
that can mean a lot to somebody. And especially, as I say, with breastfeeding was like all consuming, which it has to be. You got to develop that. I don't really want to talk about it now because we'll talk about it later, but it's just that thing, of figure out where kind of those stress points are and what you can do, because it'll make your life a lot easier as well. And it means then what I tried to do with it a lot was do those things while maybe the two of them are sleeping or while the baby is sleeping, so that when they're awake and the baby's awake, you can just enjoy time together instead of going, oh, well, I'd really love to like let the baby lie in my chest, but I've got to go and do this thing now. And, because as cliched as it is, those first couple of months, first few weeks, like they fly by. And, we have a toddler now who's on the go all the time. And like used to be just, you could just like sit there and be perfectly content,
Yeah, because I know we had, and just for anybody that's watching, you're tuned into the Dad and Doula chat.
I'm Park and I'm the dad.
And I'm Michelle and I'm the doula. And these chats are just for dads. And as we say in all the videos, anybody is welcome to watch them, but it's focused on dads and dads to be. But when you were saying there about the laundry, you know, somebody getting annoyed, I remember us having that conversation, like, what's your trigger? And it's something, as a doula, I would say a lot to families or to couples, like, what is your trigger? So you had said, well, the laundry is something that will trigger both of us because neither of us like doing it.
Mhm.
So I have to keep on top of that and just choose that I'm going to get it done. I'm laughing, Porrick, because I have Spider-Man looking at me there behind your shoulder. You have different drawings every time we do a video, because I know you do them for your little girl, that she loves to see. And I just literally looking at our
It's
Spider-Man,
just
like
these eyes
staring me down, going, "What are you talking about?" But yeah, I think that sometimes there can be a little bit of confusion. But I suppose, first of all, it depends on what books you're reading. And it depends, as we said before, and we will have that conversation around social media and what people are watching and listening to. But this perception that your baby will feed every 4 hours and sleep for the time in between, and that you're just going to be wondering, like, what are we going to do? And in real life, it's not like that. And that as those, 24 hours turns into 48, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then going back to work, like all of those, there's so much to be done, and your baby is changing all the time because there is no manual when your baby is born. Like, you read them. That's what you have to do. You have to read them. But also, you might be going, well, I'm reading in this book here that, baby should do X, Y, and Z. Your baby is not reading that book. And they're not going, yay, that's what I must do. And even, I mean, the confusion even through, and again, this is for another conversation, of, the breastfed babies just get fed all the time, and babies being fed alternative milks, formulas, just get fed every 4 hours. And it's not, because we see so many issues around the feeding with formula and not feeding more often, smaller amounts more often, like a baby would get if they're breastfed. So if we're tuned in to all of those and those needs, so thinking about foods, even that prepping beforehand. You were saying in another video, because it was COVID, you couldn't go into the hospital, and you had 2 days at home, wondering, what am I going to do? And thinking about prepping some foods and, making some stuff. And that's vital to be doing that. But it's also about how much can I do myself? Because your partner is recovering from a birth or possibly a C-section, which is major surgery. And their body is changing. A lot of feelings and emotions are going around. And both of you are suffering from exhaustion. And so it's also about bringing in, and I know we're going to have a chat about that as well. We have that on our list, as it's something we were asked to talk about, which was, other supports and boundaries of the other supports. But it's knowing, not when to call support, but being mindful of, well, we might just need a little bit of help. And that might be ordering in food, or, from a good restaurant, or from getting those trays of pre-prepped foods, but having that plan about what you're going to do in that
like
time.
We had done a lot of pre-planning. Now, I mean, not everybody has the facilities for this. Like, my wife's birthday, before she had the baby, she's like, what I want for my birthday is a big chest freezer, so I can put loads of meals in it. And because that was, and it worked, and we had weeks worth of food. Now, obviously, not everybody, as I say, has the resources for that or the facilities for that. But even now, anybody we know, I think nearly all that have had a baby since, the present that she lands with is frozen meals that she's made. And people have said to her, that's the best gift. That was the best gift. And it sounds so simple.
Absolutely.
But like, you could, from my one experience of it, you'll never want for baby clothes. people are always, so generous with stuff and passing things along and all that kind of thing. And toys, you could spend a fortune on toys. And when that baby gets up and about, the thing they're most interested in is the thing you have. But like something simple like that, where it's like, here's a little box and you don't have to think about or worry about what you're eating this evening. You don't have, just put it in the oven and in half an hour you can sit down and eat. It doesn't sound like much, but it kind of gives the person, who's recovering, that's an evening off, so to
Yeah.
speak.
And the partner then as well
Hmm.
has that evening off
Yeah.
cooking when maybe, today was just a hard day.
And
Because it
that's the thing.
is,
Yeah, like early on, because nobody is in a routine yet, the days are tough because you don't really know whether you're coming or going. So like having those sort of staples in the day where, because one of the people I had been talking to, they said like there's days where they kind of forget to eat because they're just in the middle of it and it gets to like 10 o'clock at night and they're thinking, oh, we've had nothing since lunchtime, and then they have to go
yeah,
and start doing it. So at least if you can prepare those things or provide them to your friend that's having a baby, that is like, okay, well, all you have to do is remember to put it in the oven and take it out again. You don't have to
yeah.
worry about preparation or anything like that.
And
That's.
even having little something I would do with families would be having little breakfast that they like to have, little
Hmm.
lists up, and that even reminded them that. So like, I mean, something I would do for families would be overnight oats, and we
Hmm.
make 5 overnight oats, so we know for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday overnight oats is there. And it's,
Hmm.
if both parents want that, then that's fine. And it's there. So now you don't have to think about, you've only one day had to think about doing that, which was maybe Sunday. You make
Yeah.
them for Monday, you make them for the next 5 days. Now you don't have to worry about breakfast. And it's
Hmm.
those things when you think about, well, what might be a trigger, or what can I do? So if you think that, like you just said, the amount of laundry with this little person, because they poo so much and they, spit up, there's a lot of posseting going on.
Hmm.
And so you've only put a new baby grow on them. And next thing is they've just got
Yeah.
sick on top of it, or the poo has gone up their back or whatever. And you have all of this, these clothes to wash and dry, and get, probably not folded, as you said, left in another basket. But it's like at some point a shower needs to be washed and the floor needs to be hoovered and a mop run around on it, or the dishwasher needs to be emptied. And so it's having that plan really, and knowing that, if I know there was one dad saying like, I really don't know what I'm like, what I'll be doing, um, and that was in one of our
Hmm.
sessions. I remember Paul King saying like, what would I do? And I remember you looking at him kind of going,
You've no idea what's
like,
ahead of
what
you,
what
like.
what are you doing at the moment? Like, are you not
Hmm.
helping in the house at the moment?
Hmm.
First of all, to realize all the stuff that has to be done, but because we have so much time, and if we're working before we have a baby, maybe we're picking up that takeout on the way home, or
Hmm.
we're shopping and we're picking up a few bits. We've more time to do stuff, or we're getting lunch at work, and there's only a tea to be cooked in the evening, and there's only the two of us to wash clothes for, and maybe some of that stuff goes to a laundry,
Hmm.
dry cleaners or something like that. That it just, I mean, that really does change on the other side.
Yeah.
And yeah, I suppose it's having a good, again, it goes back to like when we talked about planning for the birth and the post birth. It's that planning and preparing for
Hmm.
that. And what am I able for? How much support do we need? And we will talk about that in another session about
Hmm.
support. So I hope we're trying to keep these, like, not have these too long.
Relatively, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully, yeah. I mean, look, we're looking for feedback. If anybody wants to message us, you'll get me
Absolutely.
on mamogs.ie. That's MAMOGS. And yeah, but thank you for tuning in to our Dad and Doula session. And that's just for dads.
Thank you.
Thank you.